All right, let's get right into it. If you have ever, even for a second, wondered what it really takes to go from knowing nothing to becoming a hireable front-end developer, well, this is for you. We're about to lay out the entire journey, from that very first line of code you'll write, all the way to acing that final high-stakes interview. I mean, that's the big question, isn't it? Every single website, every cool app you use on your phone, it all started somewhere. Think of this explainer as your personal map. We're going to show you exactly how it's done, one step at a time. So let's start at square one, the absolute basics. Think of building a website like building a house. Seriously, you need three main things, right? You need a solid structure, you need the interior design to make it look good, and you need all the functional stuff, like electricity and plumbing. In the web world, that trio is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. First up, you've got HTML. This is the absolute skeleton of every single web page out there. It has nothing to do with looks, it's all about structure and meaning. It's the language that tells the browser, hey, this part is a headline, or this is a paragraph, and over here, this is a list. It is literally the blueprint for all of your content. Okay, so once you have that blueprint, you bring in CSS. If HTML is the structure, CSS is your interior designer. It takes that raw, kind of boring skeleton and makes it look amazing. CSS controls everything visual, the colors, the fonts, the spacing, the whole layout. It's what turns a plain document into something you actually want to look at. And finally, the magic ingredient, JavaScript. This is what brings your house to life. It's the electricity, the plumbing, the whole shebang. JavaScript handles all the interactivity. When you click a button and something happens, or you fill out a form and it tells you there's an error, or you see a cool animation, that's all JavaScript, making the page dynamic and actually do stuff. But here's the pro tip. Learning to code isn't just about what you do, it's also about what you don't do. There are all these outdated habits, like using tables for page layouts, that are a dead giveaway you're behind the times. Focusing on modern, clean, semantic code from day one, that's a huge, huge advantage. Okay, so we know the tools: HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Got it. But how do you actually learn this stuff in a way that makes sense and doesn't feel totally overwhelming? Simple. You need a plan, a roadmap. This is what separates people who just dabble from people who actually become professionals. So let's take a look at what that path looks like. So what's a realistic timeline for all this? How about 1 year? Now, does that sound a little ambitious? Maybe. But it is absolutely possible. With real focus and the right plan, going from zero knowledge to being job ready in 12 months is a totally achievable goal. And here's how you do it. You break the journey into these manageable chunks. For the first 3 months, you just master the fundamentals: HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. That's your foundation. Then you move into the intermediate phase. You'll build on top of that foundation with things like TypeScript, which makes your code safer, Sass, to write way more powerful CSS, and React, which is a massively popular way to build complex interfaces. And finally, you tackle the advanced stuff, like automated testing to make sure your code is bulletproof, and frameworks like Next.js to build really fast, modern apps. Now, after all that learning, we're going to look way ahead to what feels like the final boss battle, the system design interview. I know this might seem super advanced, but trust me, understanding the mindset for this even early on is so valuable. This is where you go from just writing lines of code to actually architecting entire applications. So they'll hit you with a huge question like this. It's not a trick, they just want to see how you think. How do you take a massive, complex idea, like an Instagram feed, and break it down into smaller, manageable parts? This is where all that knowledge you've gained really comes together. And this is the secret sauce. The best candidates, they don't jump straight into giving answers. They start by asking questions. This quote says it all, really. When you start clarifying what needs to be built, you're showing that you think like an experienced engineer, not just a junior coder waiting for instructions. So how do you make sure you're asking the right questions and keeping your thoughts organized when you're under pressure? You use a framework. Having a mental checklist to follow when the stakes are high is probably the greatest asset you can have in one of these interviews. And a really great one is called RADIO. It's just an acronym that walks you through the whole process. First, clarify the requirements, then sketch out the architecture, define the data model, plan the API, and finally discuss the optimizations. See? It's a simple checklist that keeps your answers structured and makes sure you don't miss anything important. And it all kicks off right here with that first step, requirements. Before you even think about code, you ask these kinds of questions. Are we building for a phone or a computer? What are the absolute must-have features? How many people are going to be using this thing? Questions like these show that you're thinking about the big picture, just like a senior developer would. Okay, so let's bring this all together. We've talked about the fundamental building blocks of the web, we've laid out a year-long roadmap to learn them, and we've even looked at the strategy to prove what you know in a tough interview. And it's so important to remember this. Every single developer's journey, every massive application you use every day, it all started right here, with the simple, fundamental act of writing a single tag to structure a tiny piece of content. But that first spark is just the beginning. It only turns into a real career with dedication and, most importantly, a clear plan. A roadmap like the one we talked about isn't just a nice-to-have guide, it's what keeps you from getting lost and makes sure you're always moving forward. And finally, landing that job and really succeeding in your career, that all comes down to strategy. It's not just about what you know, but about how you apply it, how you think through really complex problems, and how you communicate that thinking to other people. So there you have it. You have the complete map from the very first step to the final destination. The only question left is the one you have to answer for yourself. So, what are you going to build?